Hello you all, I'm BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Thank you so much to this commenter here who suggested for me to do a video on Voodoo Village. And thank you so much for suggesting this video, because during the research for this, it was a whole plot twist going on. So immediately when I heard Voodoo Village, I'm like, okay, so let me read about people's experiences, see what they had going on, all the stuff that people seen pop up, the things that happened. Then I grew curious. I'm like, what was this place before it was considered Voodoo Village? And that completely changed everything. So let's do some background on the creator of Voodoo Village. How did it get its name? What was the original purpose? Was the original purpose for a village full of voodoo? So first, let's go all the way back to 1946 and let's talk about the creator of Voodoo Village, Wash Harris. Wash Harris, a healer of African Native American descent from Panola County, Mississippi, relocated 60 miles north to the rural marshes of the outskirts of Memphis, Tennessee. There he settled with 3 generations of his family. Known as Doc Harris, he was a renowned spiritual doctor who started practicing his gift at the age of 7. From 1956 onward, Doc and his family, adhering to biblical and Masonic practices, transformed their 2-acre property into a visionary spiritual shrine named the St. Paul Spiritual Holy Temple. The temple included residence, workshops, underground shelters, sacred teaching grounds, a spiritual church, and over 100 monumental works in wood, steel, cane, and bead known as the Degrees of God in craft work. Harris founded the temple as a haven for healing, welcoming clients from Mississippi, Arkansas, Memphis, who learned about him through word of mouth. He blended his family African Native American heritage with the global perspectives of Freemasonry and the healing mission of the Black spiritual churches of the American South. The original and official name of this place is the St. Paul Spiritual Holy Temple. So from the pictures, as you guys can see, it's a whole lot going on. Some of the stuff I was not even able to recognize, which I personally love, but we'll get into that later. But I feel like that is a personification of the mixture of practices he blended together from biblical, Freemasonry, from his native background, taking those teachings and being able to apply it and help and heal others. And obviously he was good, because through word of mouth, everybody knew about him and they were traveling to come and see him. But of course, this flowing of peaceful healing energy didn't last long, because in 1961, in the midst of racially charged violence, a local newspaper disclosed the temple's address. Subsequently, a steady stream of vandals and, we'll say, curious onlookers arrived, drawn by the brightly colored abstract constructions visible beyond the barbed wire. False stories about a voodoo village near the Mississippi state line spread, featuring rumors of animal sacrifice, mysterious symbols, bloody crosses, and dolls in glass boxes on bamboo stilts emerging from the swamps on the northern edge of Mississippi Delta. The long-standing tension between the Harris family and the Voodoo Village legend are documented in a collection of articles, television transcripts, YouTube videos, Facebook pages, and letters from Harris family members attempting to clarify the temple's true purpose. So while doing my research for this, I did see a lot of Facebook posts, YouTube videos, Reddit posts of people having eerie experiences there. And I have an explanation behind why they may have been experiencing that, and we'll touch on that later. But let's continue with the family trying to clear up the misconception of Voodoo Village. Doc Harris' healing practice and teachings were rooted in the Bible and the life of Christ. In 1961, he expressed to a Memphis Press staff writer, "We have an eternal organization here, a church. Our temple is the most beautiful place in the world. All things have a meaning." Despite being compelled into seclusion, Doc closed the temple to all but his extended family, church members, healing practice clients, and selected guests. He continued creating the Degrees of God in craftwork, strengthening the temple's spiritual essence. The Voodoo Village legend persisted, concealing a more profound story of faith, persistence, love, and fraternal loyalty carried out in secret for over 60 years. Following Doc's death in 1995, his grandson Washington James Mook Harris, which we will hear from, assumed leadership of the temple, overseeing the maintenance of the Degrees of God in craftwork and their teachings. Over the past decade, Mook Harris has replaced many lost wooden works with replicas in welded steel and enamel. Mook Harris and his remaining siblings serve as a link between the past isolation and a more open future, where this sacred space is increasingly acknowledged as a vital chapter in American religious history and vernacular art. While access to the temple iron gates remain strictly controlled for now, the Harris family openly declares its purpose. This place is a sign for future generations and the fallen of the world. So far, we can conclude with the racial tension that was going on and still going on, and we know how originally literally our spirituality was stripped from us. So with this still in the midst, of course, people look at this land and see these symbols, these statues, these nails, these artifacts. They don't know where they come from, what they stand for. So what do people do when they don't know what religious practice you're diving into? They call it voodoo. Because I promise you, if there was a sculpture of a cross with Jesus' arms spread out, people would be like, oh my God, that is just such a nice church. I'm so happy that they're practicing this. They would not mind at all. But due to the fact that they did not understand it, they based their opinion, which is formed off of lack of knowledge, and just assigned it to voodoo. Way to acknowledge someone else's practices. They're calling it voodoo, with it being synonymous to demonic. Because you know, people think, oh, devil worship. Oh, I don't see Jesus in the mix. What is that? I see a dead animal. That's voodoo. They don't care to learn about what it is, why is it there, what does it stand for. They're just like, I don't know what it is, so it must be voodoo. Because there's nothing else in the world besides Christianity and voodoo, right? So about over 40 years ago is when the rumor started spreading of the voodoo claims of this land. People having weird experiences. People are just like, oh my gosh, I just had this out of body experience. So let's get as close as possible to the horse's mouth, and we're going to hear from Wash Harris' grandson. And this is a video that is on Eric W's channel. It's the full, they have a full 8-minute video over there that'll go more into the St. Paul Holy Temple.
All right. My name is Washington James Harris. I was named after my grandfather, Doc Wash Harris. Well, people would come from miles and miles around, not only Memphis, Mississippi, Arkansas. They come from Chicago, Detroit, New York, Pennsylvania, a whole lot of places. Even people would come from across the water to see him, talk to him. They got a problem they don't feel like nobody else could help them with. The good Lord gave him a gift that he don't give many people, you know. Some people say voodoo, witchcraft and all that stuff, but that ain't what it is. It's a gift from God. It's just like God give me a gift, God give you a gift. You know, everybody ain't got the same gift. If it was, probably everybody be running around in a circle, you know. But he could tell you some things that you think you didn't know about yourself, but you. Me and my old man, we started this place back at where it was started back in the 60s. And I was small, but I hope do all the work that's here. You know, coming up, we would work so long. We worked sometime all day, all night, half of the night. And people be riding up down the road, hollering, shooting, saying bad things. And we just kept right on working. And sometime on a Sunday, you'd be trying to have church service. They be out in the road hooping and hollering and all that old stuff. You know, now this all I call white trash that's doing this kind of stuff. You know, I don't believe the so-called good white people would do stuff like that. You know, but you got to read that Bible and explain that Bible to people for them to understand it, because a lot of people don't read the Bible. You know, they just hear stuff from word to mouth, and you know, a lot of people believe in stuff like that. And that's a bad thing too, because that's what put the name on this place, Voodoo Village. One joker had it and carried it on, and then they just passed it on around, and now you stuck with that name. You know, and nobody took time to find out what it's really about and why they named it that. They named it that because they didn't understand really what it was or what it was about, and then they asked nobody. Anytime you want to know something, you need to ask the people that got it, you know, and then you get the right understanding. But now, like I said, this place was built, as my old man told me, it's built for the future generation to come. It's to help people and teach people the right way to go. That's it.
So on the part of this interview that stood out to me is when he said that his grandfather had a gift and he could tell you things that you only thought you knew about yourself. Made me believe that he was a seer, and that could have been one of the services that he provided to his people, giving them guidance, things to do, helping them throughout their journey. And also this makes me think, I don't know for sure, but just from hearing that and looking at the property, maybe that property, we could think of it like a giant altar, right? Like, you know, some of us have altars in our home and we may have little knickknacks and statues up there where we know what everything means, but if someone else look at it, they'll probably be like, why this girl got a random jar of honey on her dresser? And what's all these beads? And why is what is all that? It's just gonna look like a cluttered dresser, but to you, it's like, I use this honey right before I'm manifesting. I use these beads to hold while I pray. Like, you know what each thing means, and you hold on to different things for whatever ritual or prayer you're doing. That's how I think about it when I look at this property, with him being able to help heal and guide other people. I'm assuming that maybe he had different areas on the property for different things. Like, okay, so this person needs protection. Let me come over here. This person needs a cleansing. Let me come over here. This person needs a reading. Let me come over here. Maybe each little category symbolized different things, and that's why it just looked like a clutter full of random stuff, because we don't know what each thing means. Like an altar, maybe the property was just literally sacred land, and where rituals, work, or whatever they do is done. I will also say I'm glad that they closed this off to only selected people, because you never know who would just go in there. They don't need no work done. They just want to come in there and be nosy. I like that they were able to close it off to basically invite only, because with all the rumors swirling around it, you just don't want anybody walking on this property looking for stuff and then reporting back, adding more to the stereotype and the rumors of this property. Now, before I continue, just when I go Voodoo Village, or they called it Voodoo Village, I hope y'all know I don't find anything wrong with voodoo at all. Of course, obviously this channel, but we know that they're calling it Voodoo Village because they're low-key just trying to call it demonic and devil worshiping. So that's why I keep going like this. There's nothing wrong with a Voodoo Village, but this is just, they don't have that title and they don't operate under that. They do their own practices. But I will say there are more rumors swirling around about this property, because like I said before, Freemasonry, Doc was a Mason. Now, I have a lot of Mason men in my family, and of course when I hear these rumors like, oh, it's Illuminati, they do this and they do that, and with me having a lot of Mason men in my family, being the daughter of a Mason, and so when I hear the rumors, I immediately be like, what are y'all talking about? Now granted, I don't know what was going on in the meetings, of course, because it is a private organization, and my dad has been a Mason way before I was born, but my dad cool, so I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Like, they do not like that. Like, my dad is great. But of course, many people jump to random conclusions when they don't understand what exactly is going on. So they're like, oh my gosh, Freemasonry, we don't know what goes on in there, but it must be Illuminati because we don't know what's going on in there either, so it must be correlated. And it's like, everybody calm down. Now, going into the rumors of this place, of course, most of them I do not believe, because people are going in like, oh, this is Voodoo Village. Of course, something scary is going to happen, so let me look for something. And they're just going based off their preconceived notions. But one thing that is said a lot is saying that people who go to this property, they end up getting attacked. People chase them out. And it's like, of course that happens, because this is a private property. If you go to anybody's private property, I promise you there are a group of people who are going to attack you, whether it's a home, whether it's a business. If it's private, it's not meant for you to be there. The entitlement that people have, and they think, oh, I could walk up in here because I saw the address on Google. No, if you know it's private, if you know it's closed off, if people are warning you, do not go, what makes you think, well, I just want to see what's going on? Why? Now, would I go there? No. If I get invited, yes. Memphis, here I come. Tennessee. But no, not just willingly. Let me go be nosy. There are some places I do want to visit that are open, especially like in New Orleans. I have a whole list I'm going to visit. But if I get invited, yeah, I want to see. I saw the little contract. I ain't going to tell nobody, just because it looks so interesting. And I find it amazing that everything is specially crafted to their personalized religion, that they were able to blend everything. And y'all know I always say spirituality is going to look different for every single person, even if you practice the same thing, even if you are initiated into the same house. What you do is going to be different from someone else, and that's what makes spirituality beautiful. Because if I were to give everyone watching this the same type of supplies for a protection spell, I give you a candle, I give you some parchment paper, I give you a pen, I give you some herbs, I give you some crystals, everyone is going to look different. This person decided to put their crystal next to the candle, while this person decided to crush up their crystal and sprinkle it inside the candle. This person decided to write backwards on their parchment paper. This person decided not to use their parchment paper and sing their petition. Like, everyone's is going to look different, even if you have the same material, because we are called to do different things. So seeing this property and seeing that just from the naked eye, we can't be like, okay, are they Christian? Are they Muslim? Are they voodoo? We can't figure it out. To me, that's what makes it beautiful, because it's sacred to them. That's why I'm happy they closed it off as well, because you never know who's just going to go lingering up in there trying to just find stuff. Now, for some people who have visited the St. Paul's Spiritual Holy Temple, you may have had some outer body experiences. You may have gotten scared, because with this being sacred land, I'm sure there are a whole bunch of spirits, ancestors floating around protecting the property, and they seen you were coming over there to be nosy. So of course, I'm sure you experienced something creepy, something eerie, because you weren't supposed to be there. From what I've read, people say, oh, they seen people coming out of the swamp, they seen people floating in mid-air, they seen animals hanging, but they could still hear the noises and the sounds that the animal made. They hear children singing, they hear children playing, they'll hear things rustling through the grass, but when they turn around, it's gone. They'll hear certain bells ringing. Of course, I'm not going to take that experience away from anyone, but I do wonder, how did you get on that property though, with it being private and with it being publicly known that it's private? It's a little... But I'm sure that did happen, because I'm sure this land is sacred and it's protected by their ancestors, their spirits. I'm sure Wash Harris is floating around scaring y'all too, because y'all is on his original property that his family is trying to upkeep. But that is a story of the St. Paul Spiritual Holy Temple that got titled Voodoo Village, based off people not understanding what all these symbols, statues, and figurines stood for. Let me know what you guys think of Voodoo Village. Have you ever been there? Did you get any eerie feelings? Do you know some people that work there? Do you have more information? Do you have something else like, no, yeah, this is Voodoo Village for real, girl? Do you feel like it is low-key a voodoo village, but they're just publicly saying, no, we don't practice voodoo, never, but low-key they doing it anyway? What do you think? But thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, and like I always say, as above so below, as within so without, as the universe of the soul. Until next time, you guys, I share.